Lisa, I am so happy we finally reconnected. Just to let everybody know, Lisa was on my podcast, but this is when we just first started, and then you were in Miami still. This was just last year, right? Was it last year?
Last year.
Yeah, it was just last year, and then we had to do virtual, and then somehow our system, hey, I'm not very good with tech. It doesn't get to record it, so we had to reschedule and do it again. And since then, so many things happened. She moved out of Miami, and guess what? She got married. Yeah, congratulations, yeah. And then finally, she's here. And then the funny thing about that was I didn't even know you were going to be in LA till we were both recently on another family office conference in West Palm Beach this week. And I was leaving on Tuesday, and then she said, I'm going to be in Tuesday. I'm actually going to be near your neighborhood. So here we are. So everything have a timing. So I really want everybody to meet Lisa because Lisa has this really, she made this great brand called Bad Bitch Empire. And she had the book for it. Can you please tell us about the Bad Bitch Empire? I know the name sounds weird, but I think it's awesome. I love the name. So tell us.
So a bad bitch is a woman who unapologetically takes charge of her body, her boundaries, and her bank account. And it's a woman who knows what she wants. She goes after what she wants, and she gets it. And I always say that being a bad bitch isn't a destination. It's a way of life. It's a way of being. It's a way of conducting yourself and walking in with unapologetic confidence every time you walk into a room, knowing your worth, knowing your value, and not tolerating disrespect or bullshit. And always choosing yourself and never settling. So when I say never settling, I say it means never settling for mediocre opinions. That means not settling for mediocre opportunities. It means not settling for a life that isn't your dream life. And a lot of women have what is called good girl brainwashing. And good girl brainwashing is all of those societal and media messages that train women to play small, to stay silent, and to be subordinate to the status quo.
I mean, I just feel like that's how we were raised, right?
Yeah,
especially
that's why it's brainwashing.
As the Asian American women, it's even so. I totally get it. But I thought we get rewarded to be a good girl.
That's exactly why the brainwashing is so powerful, is because we're told that in order to be successful, you need to be a good, obedient girl. You need to be polite, a people pleaser, a perfectionist, and you need to listen to authority. And the thing is, that gets you to a certain place in life, right? That gets you good grades, that gets you into a good school, that might get you a good job. But there's a certain point at which, if you want to be a leader, if you want to be a pioneer, you need to go from good girl to bad bitch. It's the good girl who gets the coffee and the bad bitch who gets the bag. And I
like that. I like that example.
Yeah, that's the premise of what the whole Bad Bitch Empire is about. It's about empowering women to break free of good girl brainwashing, to take charge of their bodies, boundaries, and bank accounts, and to build unapologetic worth and wealth by investing in yourself, investing in other women, and really going after that dream life, going after that financial freedom, financial sovereignty. And I wrote the Bad Bitch Business Bible, which is
awesome.
the 10 commandments, the 10 bad bitch commandments to break free of good girl brainwashing, take charge of your body, boundaries, and bank account. And so this is the Bible that launched the Bad Bitch Empire. And there's 10 commandments in here, everything from a bad bitch takes up space. A bad bitch asserts her voice. A bad bitch calls out bullshit. A bad bitch curates her crew. A bad bitch loves money. A bad bitch commands her worth. A bad bitch invests her assets. So there's all these things about how a woman can truly love her body, respect her boundaries, and build wealth, because that ultimately is a form of freedom for a woman. And
so a lot of stuff you just said, the 10 Commitment, which I totally agree. But I have to say that some of those was something I actually had personally struggling with. So I can tell you one, to love money. We almost I don't know, my parents, they work hard, they work hard and get paycheck, right? And then they always say, I don't know, is it being humble or not too showy or not to be greedy? it's almost like they think that when you say, I want money or I love money, somehow it's bad. I don't know.
That's part of the brainwashing.
Okay.
So
I'm like, am I the only one who feel this way? Right?
No.
But
that's why this is a commandment, because I literally talk about that, is that we are brainwashed to feel guilty and feel ashamed of wanting to be wealthy, which is really interesting, again, because a lot of these are double standards, because men are not punished for wanting to make money, right? It's a given. A man wants to make money. He needs to get resources. He's always doing business, talking money, talking shop to other men. But when a woman says, I want to be unapologetically wealthy, she has to justify it with, because I want to help people, because I want social impact, because I want to do something for philanthropy.
Yes.
You know, a man can say, I want to be rich so that I can, you know, buy my cars, buy my Rolexes, you know, get more girls.
Yes.
And a woman, if she just says, you know, I want to be wealthy because I want to, you know, buy a nice outfit and I want to be able to go to the spa and I want to be able to get my nails and my hair done, people automatically will think, wow, she's so selfish.
Yes.
So this is another part of the good girl brainwashing, is that women feel guilty for prioritizing themselves.
Why is that?
Because it benefits the patriarchy. It benefits the current system if women are so busy trying to fix their perceived flaws or feel ashamed or guilty, so they play small, right? They don't claim that I want more. I want, you know, a better, bigger, freer life. And so long as women are kept small and focused on, you know, ways on their shame and their guilt, then they don't realize their power, and the current power structures can stay the same.
Well, the society have changed now, thank God, you know, and I'm so glad that, you know, we have people like you and writing a book about it, because like I said, some of those things, the 10 Commandments, like I said, I'm still working on it, but the one that I still hear, even from my parents, the older generation, is you can never say I like money. Or it's like liking money was such a bad thing, you know?
Well, you know, it's like these taboos where... Why is it only certain groups of people can say, I like money? Or only, and this is similar to sex, right? Why are only certain groups of people allowed to like sex? So, for example, men are given permission to like sex, right? A woman does it, and she is called a slut.
Yeah.
She is called, you know, disgusting. She is called selfish.
Yeah.
But again, that double standard for men and women is very different. Same thing with money. Again, a woman is shamed and told she's greedy, she's selfish.
Yes. Yeah.
But then a man is a powerful leader. You know, a man is just, you know, that's what he does. He is there to provide resources. That's his job in society. And so all of these double narratives are very detrimental, I think, to both sides, to both men and women. But what it does specifically for women is it keeps us small, it keeps us broke, and it keeps us trapped.
I mean, so how did you, by the way, you used to be like Olympian gymnastic, right? So how from that changing to the bad bitch empire?
Well, in addition to being
you were a good girl.
Gymnast.
I
was a good girl.
Yale graduated. Yeah. I mean, all the Asian family loves you.
Straight A student, Ivy League grad. First job out of college at a hedge fund. So I did all the good girl things. And I also grew up with a lot of self-doubt and insecurity. I was really introverted. My younger self probably would not be able to believe that I am who I am today, because I was so introverted I couldn't even speak in front of a classroom of a few people, right? I was so scared.
She's on many talk. I mean, check her out on Instagram and LinkedIn. She does a lot. In fact, she just did a talk on the family office. So what switched? What happened?
Well, first, it doesn't happen overnight, right? And I think women awaken over time. And I think it's also a choice to awaken, because it's easy to play it safe, and it's easy to just keep following the rules without questioning, you know, if they're actually serving you. And I think it started probably early on when I quit my first corporate finance job, and I thought, is this the path I really want? Do I want to go from analyst to associate to senior associate to, do I want to climb this ladder? And most people, you know, they get to year 10 or year 20 and they're like, oh shoot, this was never my dream life, right? I figured out in year 2, I was like, this is not what I want. I actually don't like people. And in this case, because they were all men except for the women, I was like, I don't like these men telling me what to do with my life. And I felt that if I had more creative freedom, if I could just do more and make my own choices, I could be more successful. And so I took the leap into entrepreneurship very early on.
Did your parents like, are you crazy?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
And it's funny because, well, looking back, my dad was, when I told them, he was yelling at me on the phone, telling me I was ruining my life and that, so many people would kill to be in my situation at such a nice hedge fund. Why would I ruin my life like that? My mom came in and she was crying, saying like, oh, are you sure this is the right decision? So yeah, it was really difficult because I felt like I was disappointing and failing my parents all over again. But at the end of the day, I decided I need to listen to my own heart. I need to choose myself. And I'm happy that I was brave enough to do that because that's very courageous.
That's what I was going to say. It's a really bravery act to really redefine or like kind of like to the nerd or to everybody else what they have that expectation of you, especially people you love, like your family. So where'd you get that bravery?
The bravest thing for anyone, but I think the bravest thing especially for women to do is to choose themselves, is to choose their own heart.
Okay.
Because so many of us are not taught to listen to our own truth, our own intuition, because we've been taught to be people pleasers. We've been taught to listen to what everybody else wants before what we want. And I think that it was just that I was very much in touch with my own emotional world. And I remember sitting at that hedge fund and just feeling deeply unhappy. I felt that I was meant for something bigger. I was meant for something more, and that more was not going to be found in the confines of that building or that job or even that industry. And I think it was just that that inner voice was strong enough to say, and had enough conviction that there was something more on the other side of this. And it was also the self-belief and the self-trust that I had that probably came from my gymnastics success and the ability in gymnastics to fall and get back up again and say, every time I have my back, every time I fall, I can get back up. I trust myself that when I fail or when I fall, I will always get up better
I love that.
Than what I did before. So that muscle of falling and getting back up, falling and getting back up physically, emotionally, mentally, then I translated that into my career and it became, I think that it was an internal muscle of, I don't know what's on the other side. No one in my family is an entrepreneur, so I didn't even know what venture capital was. I didn't know what accelerator. I didn't really know anything. I probably could have done some more research, now thinking about it, but I think it was just, I don't know what is going to happen, but I trust myself that I'm going to make it work.
You know what I noticed when I talk to a lot of successful women like yourself? One thing I see, the common thing is resilient. The fact that you just said that even if you fall, you wasn't worried you're not going to get back up. In fact, you said, I know I'm going to get back up and even better, which I think that changed a lot of mentality, and then not everybody have that.
Yeah.
So I think that's what make you so successful what you do. And then, so what make you name Bad Bitch Empire? Because when I tell people, I was like, my girlfriend, she tried to create this brand, which is awesome, called Bad Bitch Empire. And then everybody always like, what'd you say? I was like, Bad Bitch Empire.
Yeah.
So what made you come up with the name and so on?
I was blogging back in 2015, 16, 17, some pre-COVID, I was blogging. And I came up with this post about good girl brainwashing because I was just reflecting on what I had gone through. And I wrote about the good girl habits, people pleasing, perfectionism, playing small, staying silent, not commanding my worth, undervaluing myself. And I coined this term and I wrote this Instagram carousel post about it. And it went viral. So many women commented and they're like, oh my God, me too, me too. I'm also a victim of good girl brainwashing. I didn't even realize this. And the power of it was that I took these invisible everyday forces and I gave a name to it, right? I gave a label, good girl brainwashing, to it. And when I put words to it, suddenly all these women could see the invisible forces and say, me too. Wow, this is what I'm going through. And there was one comment, and I remember it specifically, and one woman said, when are you starting Bad Bitch University? And that's when the light bulb went off. I was like, good girl, bad bitch. Like, yes, that makes sense. And it was a very tangible way to think about the transformation, right? We could be like the good girl, and so many of us identify with being the good girl, and like, what's on the other side of that? Which is, once you break free, you become the unapologetic bad bitch.
It sounds scary also, the unknown, right? Was the other part, especially if you would brainwash and growing up to living this, perfectionist, people pleaser. Like, and then it's actually served you pretty well, right?
Yeah.
You get a stable, decent job. If that's what people wanted to, like you said, you get to good school. I mean, is that enough, right? So, and it's to give up all that and go try something that's wholly unknown is scary.
Yeah. All of it has been really outside of my comfort zone. But as any successful person knows, you only get to that success and that freedom by facing your fears, by stepping into your discomfort, because that's how you grow. And so, coming up with Bad Bitch Empire, it was funny because I thought of Bad Bitch, and initially when I was coming up with it, I was like, Bad Bitch Ventures, is it Bad Bitch Collective? Like, what is that last word? And then I came up with the word empire because it sounded, big, and I have a really big vision, and I was like, yes, empire, whatever this turns into, it's going to be big enough to hold all of my dreams and my vision for this brand. And it also felt a little bit scary to call it empire. And so because it felt a little bit scary, it was also exciting. And I thought, this evokes some sort of emotion in me. That's what it needs to be called.
Yeah, because I like one of the quote from the book is like, we're not asking for permission to be on the table, to sit in the table. We're the one who bring the capital. I really like that what you said, because I think for all this time, women, we all try to say, we want to see the table, we want to see the table. But you actually changed that a little bit. It's like, we're not asking for permission to sit at the table. We're the one with the capital. We're the one with the money here, right? So I think if you allow women to have the capacity to make money, or we're the one with the capital, that's where the power come in, isn't it?
Yeah, it's both, because the tagline for a long time for Bad Bitch Empire was unapologetic worth and wealth. And that's the underlying ethos, which is, especially for women, oftentimes self-worth is very tied with your wealth, because everything is a mirror, and how you feel about yourself often shows up in the energy of your business. It shows up in your content. It shows up in your negotiations, how you price your services, how you value what you do. And a lot of women struggle with the finance side of things because there's still something around the self-worth aspect. So I found that 80% of the work is still self-worth. And then the 20% is around the actual business and doing the sale and making the money, because if you don't deal with the self-worth, a lot of times the wealth part will suffer.
Did you guys hear that? I love that. So if we don't deal with self-worth, a lot of time that will affecting your financial.
So I'll give you an example in terms of negotiations. If someone comes to me and they say, how do I negotiate a higher salary? Like, what's the best way to negotiate? And they'll want tactics. They'll say, do I go first? Should he go first? Should I ask for 10% more? They'll ask for like a formula. And the reality is, there is never a clear-cut formula for every single negotiation in the world, right? And let's say you come in and you're actually not that confident about yourself. Let's just use an example of someone, wanting to negotiate a better deal for themselves. So they're going to come in, let's say, and still feel insecure, still feel not worthy. And the reality is they're probably not going to be able to negotiate a really good deal, even if they have every exact tactic for themselves, because they don't actually believe in their value. Versus someone who comes in and says, I'm confident in myself. I'm confident in my value. I'm worthy. They are going to go into that negotiation and know that they are not going to settle for a mediocre deal that undervalues them. In fact, if I know I'm the best, I have the stronger position here, if you don't give me a good deal, I'm going to walk away. Because if you're going to undervalue me, why would I even do a deal with you?
Right. Yeah.
And that's the bad bitch energy, showing up and knowing that this is my value. Because a woman who walks in knowing her value, she's going to be like, if it doesn't see my value, just know I'm going to walk away. And you have leaving power. So when you have leaving power, that's the person who actually has the upper hand in the negotiation. But if I don't value myself, I'll be afraid to leave. I'll settle.
This is also applied to relationship, I feel. Doesn't it? This also applied to, I think this is also applied to romantic relationship, right? Because we see women in a lot of relationship where they don't leave because they feel they can't leave, maybe due to financial reason, or they don't think they deserve more.
Yeah. So much of this is applicable to all aspects of life: business, love, relationships. And that's exactly the same thing. So there's a lot around feminine and masculine polarity. And in every relationship, every heterosexual relationship, the woman, the feminine, needs to hold the spiritual bar. And the man will typically, he will only go as high as her bar is, and he will settle and behave as badly as she is willing to tolerate.
Ooh, hear that? Hear that? Hear that? Hear that?
So think about abusive relationships. If a man becomes, let's say he behaves out of line and he starts yelling at her, and she is shocked, but then she's like, but I'm going to tolerate it because I love him. She just lowered the bar, and now he knows,
Can go lower.
I can yell at her. Oh, she's not going to leave me if I yell at her. Then he'll push a little bit more. Maybe the next time he, starts calling her names. And then she's like, maybe she doesn't talk back, or she fights a little bit, but she doesn't leave. Now he knows he can yell at her, he can call her names, and she's still going to stay. That is not a man who respects the woman, right? But she's afraid to leave because she's like, oh, but he loves me. And that's not who he really is. He truly does love me. And in those moments, he has learned that her bar is this low. Yeah. But imagine now that same guy, the first time he yells at her, she's like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Do you know who you're speaking to?
Yeah.
Don't you dare speak to me like that ever again. Yeah. He's going to be like, oh, like a dog with his tail between his legs. He's like, I know
where the boundary is.
He knows where the boundary is. Yeah. And then she needs to be serious about that. Like, if he speaks to her like that one more time, she's going to leave. Like, okay. And then if he even tries it next time, she's gone. Yeah. He needs to actually know and feel that that's true, and she needs to actually mean that. Yeah. Because that's the only way that relationship will even potentially, get to a place where the woman feels loved and empowered and respected. And the reason so many women are in, let's say, narcissistic, toxic, abusive relationships is exactly because that woman doesn't respect herself enough to raise the bar or leave when a man disrespects her.
I really like this bad bitch energy. I always talk about it. I really like it. The name. At first I was like, bad bitch, is that good? Because, when you call someone bad and a bitch, then you're like, oh, that doesn't sound like a good thing. But then now you explained it, it's like, this is a great energy to have.
And then was being the good girl ever a good thing? Or was that just completely gaslighty, labeling, in the same way how the church, the old patriarchal church, with the gross priests and stuff, and the punishing God who said, be a good, pure, virginal woman. Yeah. But was that ever for the benefit of the woman, or was it to prevent her from knowing her power and her pleasure and actually just make her submissive to a male's sexual desire?
Yeah.
So even that, like this idea of the like pure good girl has basically just been a gaslighting that has been done to women over time to make them submissive to patriarchal structures.
See, this is like a good talk. I'm really enjoying it. So with Bad Bitch Empire, I know you also start female funded, right? So what make you want to do that? And I know you always trying to help other women entrepreneur with a startup and so on, and you wanted to invest more to the women. And why is that? Yeah.
Well, first of all, we know that less than 2% of venture funding goes to female entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that women are 52% of the population, we drive 85% of consumer purchases. We now control 70% of household decisions. But why is it? Even though we are the consumers, we aren't the equity owners, right? We aren't actually having the wealth or building the wealth or investing. Still, it all goes back to this brainwashing and a lot of these systemic structures that are in place to prevent women from actually being a part of the economy. So we basically have an economy that is driven and run by men. Mm-hmm. Men do business with men. Men invest in men. It's a little boys club that keeps Jim does business with Bob. Bob starts a company. He says, Joe, invest in my company. Joe says, great, I'm going to get Jim, Chad, and Brad to invest in it too. And then they invest in it. And then they say, hey, John, partner up with him. And then we're all going to invest in it. So now they all make money together because they're all like just bringing in different players on the pieces.
It's a very boys club. Yeah.
Women have been taught, again, don't be greedy. Mm-hmm. Don't want too much money. Don't be selfish. Fixate on all of your flaws. Fixate on the fact that you're not skinny enough, that you're not pretty enough, that you're not young enough. Spend all your money fixing yourself to try to adhere to some patriarchal, impossible standard of beauty and youth.
Yeah.
And if you focus on your insecurities, first of all, you're going to go broke. And you are not going to have the brain space to even dream about anything bigger. And then you're also going to see other women as competition. Mm-hmm. Because you're going to compare yourself to other women. Mm-hmm. And then you're definitely not going to have enough money to invest, nor the bandwidth to learn about investing or finances because you're so busy spending your money on fixing your perceived flaws.
It's true. People always say, like, the women doesn't dress well for another man. The women always dress for another woman because we're not judging other people because we are. That's also because we're very hard on ourselves. We also judge ourselves, right? So you're right. Yeah.
But think about like why is it that there's a multi-trillion-dollar makeup, beauty, weight loss industry that wasn't originally created by women. It was created by the media. And men controlled the media, right? Yep. And they said, here's the ideal figure of what a woman needs to look like. Yep. Here's her. And men will define what that looks like. And over time, especially pre-social media, it was always male-controlled media. Yeah. So everything is according to the male gaze. And it's not women who collectively said, in the 90s, for example, let's all starve ourselves and get really, really skinny.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
But it was because someone was controlling the media, or some group of men were controlling the media and said, let's make women, let's idolize this skinny, anorexic supermodel. Yeah. And make that the kind of woman that all men want. Yeah. Because remember, back in the day, women were like, curvy, voluptuous, because that would be a sign of the queen, was always curvy and voluptuous because that fertility. Was a sign of fertility. It was a sign of, being nourished, that they had money for food. And then it became like complete opposite, where it's like, what happens when you are anorexic or bulimic or focused on being skinny? You don't have any energy. If you look at this from like almost a matrix perspective, you're like, everything that these systems have done is to make women fixated on themselves and then make them like skinnier, less energy, confused, insecure. And we buy into that.
Yeah.
And part of breaking free of this is getting back to your truth. Like, what does it actually mean to me to live a fulfilled, happy, purpose-driven life?
Okay.
Yeah, living a purpose-driven life. And what does it feel like to truly love my body? What does it feel like to respect my boundaries and respect my voice? We don't often ask questions like that. Instead of saying, how do I love this body that I was given, by Mother Nature, by the universe, like this incredible vessel that has given life, that holds my soul? How do I nourish it? How do I have the energy to live my best life? How do I wake up and feel alive and make the most of my one precious life? Instead, we're focused on, how do I fix this like one gray hair or this one pimple or this one wrinkle and like my one nail? And it's so minuscule, right? And how do I count my calories so that I make sure that I don't gain 1 pound? And when you think about it like that, it's like, how much of your brain power and energy is spent on the wrong thing because someone in the media or whatever society and culture has told you as a woman that your worth is in really nice hair and really nice nails.
So true. Yeah. Well, so with the women fund that you're trying to do, it was helping other women. I think that's such a great thing to do. And you're right, because most of the funding doesn't even go to women. And first of all, there's not even that many females founder or a startup.
There's more and more, for sure. It's the fastest growing segment is women starting businesses. The thing is, women tend to start more mission-driven and impact-driven businesses. And in the best world, in the ideal world, you'd say, well, obviously, the more impact you create, the more revenue, the more financial growth that should be. But the fact that men control, the economy, most men don't build businesses to create a better world. They're just building businesses to have a profit, to make more money, to have more money to spend between the two of them, so that 3, 5, whatever, so that they can all make more money together.
No, it's true, because if you look at all my podcasts, all the female founders, we all say the same thing. Women, we tend to come up with idea that is more service oriented for the whole community.
So a lot of times our economy is driven by power and greed and ego, and women tend to be purpose driven. And this also comes down to, like, when you think about, I use like masculine and feminine, like in the metaphor of nature, where right now this toxic masculine, if you think of a forest of trees, the masculine says, I want the biggest, the best, the strongest, the tallest tree, and I want my tree to be the best tree out of all these forests and beat all these other trees, right? That's kind of what our system is like. But then a woman says, but what about the soil and the animals and the wildlife and what about all these other trees? And we should create a forest, and we should create a whole ecosystem. We need to serve the community of the forest. And that actually long term creates more abundance for everyone. But our system is so focused on, like, you need to beat out all the other trees and make the biggest, hardest, fastest, tallest tree. And that might serve, the one tree once, but again, like key man risk, right? It gets hit by lightning and now everything's dead. Which is kind of where I think especially Gen Z is worried. They're like, you guys are just ruining our planet. And so I think that with women, I always think of, like, from a actual, perspective, if you can theoretically, if we currently have a system where men do business with men drive the economy, if all women were gone overnight, men would continue to men would continue to do business with each other. why can't there also be a female-led community where women are doing business with each other? And that's growing, right? Because women are realizing, let's say, skincare products. Like a lot of those chemically, created products that were created by male-led corporations, women are suddenly realizing these are poisoning our bodies. Tampons, tampons, pads, they've realized like all of these corporations, they put toxic chemicals in tampons and pads. And now it's women who are now saying, we're going to start a female-led brand that serves women. And you can trust that female-led brand is using organic products, right? They're actually creating products that don't poison women's bodies. And so then women are going to be like, yeah, I want to buy her product.
Yeah.
Right? And so we're starting to have that whether that's like hair care products, body products, health products, where women are best served having those services and products from other women.
Creating our own ecosystem.
Yeah, we're creating our own ecosystem and our own economy where now like women are spending money on other women and investing in other female-led services, female-led products. And so the more women start businesses, the more women start investing, you can basically create the same thing, but it requires more players on the game who also have that abundance mindset. And I think we're at the very, very beginning of that still.
So what did you see Bad Bitch Empire gonna go next, or will you see the vision of how you want to lead?
So I see Bad Bitch Empire really as first of all, an empire, right? But it's a global movement and a cultural brand that coaches women to break free on good girl brainwashing, helps them start their businesses, grow their brands, all of this furthering the female-led economy, learn how to invest. So there's the coaching arm of it. There is also the commerce line. So we're going to be dropping merch. I'm actually doing a rebrand right now to make the logo and the colors like even better. But imagine having bad bitch bling, bad bitch bags, like really empowering clothing that helps you step into the room with bad bitch energy.
I do know you do coaching because last year when we tried to do this recording, you were having a seminar or like a coaching session, right?
Yeah.
Are you planning to do that again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've been doing coaching cohorts specifically for women who want to build that unapologetic bad bitch energy and bring that to their brands and bring that to their businesses and bring that to your social media. And I want to weave in more of that and also more of the spiritual power.
Yes.
For a lot of women and tapping into the divine feminine, because you and I talked about this. I think women who are connected to their spiritual core and actually understanding how to work with manifestation, how to work with energy, how to work within themselves, that will eventually amplify into your business and brand as well. So I'm starting to integrate a lot more of that feminine power, spiritual power alongside the financial and the business growth.
I love that because I think a lot of time we were taught we had to be using more masculine energy. So we think that by using masculine energy would help you to be more successful or carry you to build, right? But then I think you brought some good point because your feminine energy, like self-love, your self-worth, also have a lot of relations to how you build your business and your finances.
Well, a lot of women now, especially who have been working really hard their entire lives, hustling in their businesses, we're getting burnt out. We're getting really tired and really exhausted because a lot of us got to where we are by only being in our masculine energy, right? And it's not necessarily authentic to who we are. And in trying to continue in that hustling masculine energy, it's not serving us long term.
It's tiring.
It's tiring because we aren't embodying our authentic selves. And so even in the way that I coach, I help women reconnect to who they are as women and say, for example, in sales, we've been taught, call to action, close the deal, push, like follow up. In feminine energy sales, you're not there trying to close them, push them. You're inviting. You're having a real conversation. It's empathy. It's service first. And that sort of sales, a lot of women struggle with sales because it's so masculine and pushy, right? And I teach a different way of sales that says, this is about service and conversation and, collaborating with your client and inviting them into your world. And that's actually how you close even bigger sales, right? Because you're doing it from a place of feminine power. Because again, the feminine power doesn't need to chase. I don't need to chase you and follow up and keep asking for it. Listen, in good time, you will come if you're interested and ready for the service and the product. And so that's, again, holding those standards, holding those boundaries as a woman, and especially as a powerful female CEO, how do you conduct your business in a way that gives you freedom and pleasure, and purpose, and build that into your day-to-day routine where you can also have that self-care, self-love, and you're not always anxious, and never-ending to-do list, but taking care of yourself as you're growing.
Ooh, I love that. So that is what you also coaching on, to bring how you use your feminine energy to build your career or your finance. So both energy is important to have.
Both are important, yes.
Okay.
I think we've been taught, as a lot of women have been taught, only the masculine way.
Yes.
So there's a balance. Yeah. So you have to balance the action taking and the planning and the direction. But also to make it sustainable, how do you build in those areas where you get to be authentic? So I also bring this into content and marketing. So let's say in the traditional masculine way of content and marketing, there's a very clear funnel, you kind of go from A to Z, and then it's very data driven.
Yes.
But women connect with others through storytelling, through empathy. Yes. So there's this move towards authenticity on social media, right? It's actually women, we connect when we share our pain that we've been through. And it's also a natural, almost imitation of how women speak to their friends, because we share stories, we create empathy, we create collaboration. And so now the content, if you have one person who says, come to my coaching program because bullet point, increase profit, here are the features, here's whatever. And another woman shares a story of, I spent my whole life adhering towards male systems, and I did this right, I did that right, but I kept undervaluing myself. I kept pricing myself under, and I let people step over my boundaries, and I was so burnt out. I was tired. I was about to give up on my business altogether. My confidence was at its lowest until I realized that there had to be a different way to do it. And so then you share how you've done it differently and how your life has changed. And that's very different than me just saying, work with me to build your brand. I've helped people grow their social media 20%.
Yeah.
So it's very different.
So you also teach people on their marketing and sales.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do people sign up with you? Or do you have an upcoming retreat or anything like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I do not frequent, but I often do masterclasses online where I have a next one coming up that is a multi-day masterclass. It's a free masterclass that people can join in and learn about. I kind of give a taste of my philosophy, right? My business building philosophy and how I interweave feminine energy into it, and basically give a glimpse to women who are interested what this way of business could be. And for those who are interested, they can apply to be part of my coaching program. And then that is a coaching container where we build their brand, their business, their internal worth and their wealth. And we go through that journey and that transformation together.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely let us know. And then so we can put it in our handle so that people can sign up. Yeah. Anybody listen to it, I think that would be awesome. Sounds like a great coaching session, especially I love this bad bitch, energy.
Yeah.
Since now you explained it, it's again, the whole connotation of what is good, what is bad, right? It's designed by who. And so I really like the name, and then I think it's such a great brand. So I'm so glad that you picked it.
Yeah. So it'll be on badbitchempire.com. So you should definitely go on, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the newsletter, and then make sure to check all those out and stay updated, because that's where I'll be sharing the information about the upcoming masterclass.
So at every show at the very end, we always ask every guest that one question is, what would be the best advice you give to your younger self? I know there's a lot, but Like, if you had to pick one, what would be the one that stick to you the most?
Stop waiting for the perfect moment.
Ooh, I like that one.
Stop waiting for the perfect moment, because that moment will never come. Stop waiting for someone to give you permission to go after your dreams. You're the only one who can give you permission to do that. Stop waiting for someone to hand you your power. You need to claim your power yourself. The source of power is not outside of you. It is within you. It is your voice. It is your dreams. It is your heart. It is your truth. And if you listen to what's inside, then you can't be led astray.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. That is so true. I think a lot of time we have doubt. Well, it's not like we don't know. I think we're scared of what is really in there. Yeah. So, because it's actually, you're going to realize you are so much more powerful than you think you are. So
there's this incredible quote that goes, so many of us are not afraid that we're not actually afraid that we're not enough. We're afraid of how powerful we could be if we actually allowed ourselves to shine. And I think it goes back to that idea of like fear and being scared. But if you actually allowed yourself to be as big and as bright as you could possibly be, you put yourself out there, and that's also vulnerability.
Yes.
Because it makes you vulnerable to other people having judgments about you, other people, shooting you down, criticizing you. And when you put your truest self out there, there's the opportunity that people won't like it.
Right.
So if you keep hiding and keep yourself small, you're actually kind of protecting yourself because you don't want to be hurt.
Yeah.
And
it's true.
At the end of the day, it's no one's going to be giving you that permission to be that biggest, brightest version of yourself. So you just have to face the fear, because your greatest freedom is on the other side of your greatest fear.
Yeah, and don't wait. Don't wait for that perfect moment. The perfect moment. Thank you, Lisa. It's such a great time talking to you, as always. And I hope the time you're staying in LA, you're going to have a great time here.
Thank you, Evie.
Okay.